Welcome to the It's All Fine and Dangy podcast, where hosts Dan and Angie talk with creatives, small business owners, charities, and all kinds of interesting people. It's all real talk. It's all fine and dangy.
It's all fine and dangy.
That'll be the commercial.
That's a commercial. Welcome, guys. Thank you
Grace
so
is
much.
here.
Oh, wait, the book is here.
Never mind, the book is here.
No. We could put this on. The book is here. Mary's going to go get the book.
Here. So,
Oh, Danny, have you seen the book?
I have seen the book.
Okay, we're here to talk about the book tonight, and I'm telling you right now, you have seen the book.
I have seen the book.
We have seen the book at the gallery.
Briefly, very briefly.
You saw the book.
Very
It's
briefly.
beautiful.
We didn't ruin anything. We thumbed through it very briefly, but
Yes.
we want to get into all of that.
But that's the thing. We don't like, when we're doing an interview, we don't like to ruin it. So we do a little bit of research, but we want to be surprised, like literally surprised when we talk about something. You know, some interviewers, they do so much research, they know everything before you get there. There's no surprises. I want some surprises.
Yeah, and
you know?
I don't want to ask you a question I already know the answer to. So I want to.
Yeah, but you might want your listeners to know the answer.
But that's also kind of why we're going to ask the questions, and as you answer and we learn, they're going to learn too. So
Okay,
it's a
cool.
super interesting story.
They're
but-
on this.
It's cool.
They're in this interview with us. Is basically how it works.
Yeah, this is cool.
So before we get into the book, though, can you?
There it is.
There it
There's
is.
the book. There's the book.
Oh, let me.
There is the book.
Setting the stage, I guess, for the conversation. But before we get into the book and what it is,
All right.
I would like for you to maybe tell us and our audience a little bit about Gallery Zero in general.
Oh, wow. Okay. I wasn't prepared for that.
I know.
Well,
Let me try.
Listen, this is your business, so
Okay,
you better be.
Let me try to talk a little bit about Gallery Zero. So, and you all know who I am, and you know the backstory. So
We do, yes.
And I am going to share this for your listeners.
Sure.
Wekiva Island is a pretty incredible place. It's been a passion of our families forever, and part of our passion has always been art. And so when I started and I dreamt up, the Wekiva Island mojo and what it was going to be, I think we talked about this the last time.
We may have, and just for our audience, I think Bill and Mary Weinaug here from Wekiva Island were episode number
17.
17?
We were 7.
17.
Yes, very
and
early on.
We're almost 150 episodes now.
Here,
So,
here.
yeah, you guys were early guests, and we really appreciate that. But, Wekiva Island, for those of you that haven't been listening or haven't heard us talk about it on the show,
I'm sure they have.
You probably have. But it's a restaurant. Well, I guess it's a bar. It's a place where you can get food. You can rent kayaks. It's right on the river, on the Wekiva River. It's family friendly.
Environmentally friendly.
Environment, and it's just amazing. I mean, you can go there for the day. You can start on the other end of the river and end there. It's there's a volleyball net. We can go on forever, but there's so much to do there. And you guys built that place up. I grew up here, and I saw that place change from hand to hand and be a restaurant and then be a broken down little fish camp. And you have transformed that land into something that you should be proud of, but I think also something that the community just flocks to. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage on what that is before you talk about Gallery Zero, because it's at Wekiva Island.
Well, and so I wanted to, so that's a good backdrop. So and thank you very, very, very much.
Yeah, of course.
It is so cool. And we are so very, very proud of the place. And, our family is so into this thing and what it's all about and what we stand for.
But when you say art was an integral piece of Wekiva Island to begin with, let's talk about that for a second.
Okay, and that's where I was going to start. So Wekiva Island has what we call our 3 pillars. Everything we do revolves around 3 things, okay? And that's one of those pillars is art. And we have, the Wekiva Paint Out there every year.
Mm-hmm.
We from the Wekiva Paint Out, we started a new Smyrna Beach Paint Out, and we kind of built that up to what it is. And by the way, that is happening this weekend right now. That's kind of cool.
Oh, nice. That's where the artists come out and they paint along the shore of the river and paint nature. And
Sometimes they'll go down the river in a canoe.
Well, this is New Smyrna Beach he's talking about.
Oh, New Smyrna's happening. This weekend.
Both.
Same-
Yes,
same thing.
Same thing. They're
Same
plein
thing.
air paint outs. It's a
But yes.
French movement, and it's
cool.
Beach.
It's cool.
Some of the parks
Gotcha.
on Flagler, on Canal.
And
Yeah.
the same thing for the Wekiva Paint Out. So We started doing that the day we bought the place. We had that event every year.
So you had this vision in your mind before you even opened.
Art is one of our pillars, and if you go down there, we have Lyman Whitaker sculptures. We believe in art. Now the gallery wasn't open yet when we started.
Right.
Okay, so you said Gallery Zero. It's a long story. So, but one of our pillars is art. And then another pillar is sustainability. So in our sustainability pillar, we are all about driven to be carbon neutral. We are what's called and if you guys want to Google this, look up, the 2030 challenge. The 2030 challenge is all about trying to become carbon neutral by the year 2030, which is right around the corner now.
It's not far away.
When we adopted it 14 years ago,
Yes.
It was not around the corner.
Oh, this is reminiscent of our first interview now.
Yeah. So now sustainability and trying to become carbon neutral, it's a challenge. There's a lot of work in that. So I actually developed, I call it my toolbox, and I've actually trademarked this acronym called CERO, C-E-R-O. CERO is zero in Spanish, of course, for you guys that speak Spanish. But it also stands for, in my world, conservation, efficiency, renewables, and offsets. Now,
I remember this from the first talk. Yep.
So this is CERO. This is our toolbox to become carbon neutral. One of our pillars, sustainability. Yeah. And the last pillar is learning. We have a classroom and all that. But now you ask about Gallery Zero. Yeah. Gallery Zero, obviously Zero. Okay. Gallery, obviously art pillar.
Mixing those two things together. I love it.
We pulled those two things together. Learning, we do, we have artists come every month. We have an artist comes out and we do wine and paint events. And everything we do revolves around those three things. So,
and these are really passions of yours. So in incorporating these passions into your business, it makes it enjoyable to run the business.
Oh, it makes and here's the thing, I believe. A business with purpose is a business that is going to do well. Yeah. If you don't have a real mission and a real purpose, then you might do okay, but you're just going to trudge along.
Yeah, if you're just trying to make money, right?
When you have a purpose and you have true meaning as a business with true goals, you're going to do good. Yeah. And you know what? Yeah. And if you're not doing good, guess what? You're doing good anyway.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Well, but I think to maybe piggyback on what both of you just said, if your mission as a business is also, in a way, I don't want to sound too corny here, but it's a very pure mission in terms of trying to, be more green, become carbon neutral, promote the arts. All of this stuff is non-arguably positive stuff.
Yep.
So I think that ties into what you're saying too. Like if your mission is for the betterment of everyone, truly, then I agree with you. You're going to be very successful.
So our mission's all about the planet, but it really drills down to a very, very local, real deep story when we start talking about environmental impacts and the river and all that stuff. My God, that's another one. Yeah. I think the last time we got together, we said we were going to talk. No, we said we were going to talk about the river and do a deal on the river.
Well, we need to do a whole nother one on Seminole.
Keep Seminole beautiful. That's the river.
Let's do that. Let's plan on it.
And
And then Mary has to talk more instead of sitting over there just being all little cute and quiet.
She is cute and quiet, but that's her job.
He doesn't like me to speak up, but
stop it.
I get in trouble.
No.
That's so not true.
Quiet woman.
It's not true.
I like when Dan says that sometimes.
Oh, okay. Quiet woman. Do you like that, wife?
Sure.
Yeah.
But when you first opened Wekiva Island, was the intention always to make that second floor an art gallery, or was that born later?
Okay. So we always wanted art as a pillar. Many, many years ago, we had a horrific event happen when there was a fire.
Mm-hmm. And last week was the 7th anniversary.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Don't keep track of that stuff.
She does.
We opened the day that we closed.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, for the storm.
Okay.
Carrie was like, "Oh my God, this is ironic because this is the day of the fire and." we
That was
closed
an Ian.
Because of the
So we've been
seven
so-
years ago, and that was the day we opened.
Shitty deal. We just been closed for 2 weeks for Ian, but
Yeah.
God bless our brothers from South Florida who didn't. We just got closed down because we were underwater.
They're really underwater.
Yeah, they're gone. They're hurting, and God bless them. And we pray for them all the time. And I feel blessed that we were only shut down for a couple of weeks because we were flooded. It's still water's still high right now, but it's beautiful again. Our staff is just busted their butts and made it beautiful.
Yeah.
And-
They always are busting their butts down there.
so now where were we?
So I was asking about, tell us what Gallery Zero is, because, it's a direct tie-in to this book I really want to talk about. We really want to get into.
But the gallery was not, I don't think it was necessarily a vision when we purchased the place. When the bar burnt down, we couldn't expand our footprint, but they let us go up.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where maybe the idea started.
Well,
coming to fruition.
in the middle of that, the county allowed us to build a second floor. And long story short, that is where we said we were going to have an art gallery up there. Really, because we couldn't expand our footprint, we couldn't do this, but we were allowed to do something good.
Yeah.
And the gallery is something that's community good and community awesome. So the county said, okay, it could be an art gallery, and this is a 10-hour story.
Yeah.
But I just said it. So
But I love, what I love about it is that your passion is why you did it. But as far as, and I know you guys, and we're like family, but even as like an outsider, sort of just a consumer, or just to come into the restaurant, or I keep calling it a restaurant, but coming to Wekiva Island, to the bar or whatever, things like that also sort of add a certain layer to Wekiva Island that changes the level of what it is. I mean, we loved coming there anyway, but now you can go to an art gallery while you're there.
Oh, and
it adds that level of sophistication.
Yeah.
So you have the wine bar, you do have the art kind of spread throughout the island, which you
there's
have
like different vibes in different areas.
Yeah, and you have such a eclectic group of people that come too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's always nice to kind of mesh that together, different backgrounds and, education levels, income, whatever it is, to mesh those people together through a common place, gathering place.
And it is an absolute melting pot when we come there. We love that too. I've run into old friends from Apopka, and then you've got the crowd that's there for the wine bar, and then you've got people that are there for the art. So and
we do, and part of art is, one of our pillars, art is music.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. So we have incredible music. We were talking about Joseph Martins earlier before we started the show, and he helps us with the music. We have incredible people coming and playing music.
You guys have incredible artists that come, definitely.
Fridays and Saturday nights, and it's just it's such a comfortable, chill place. And let me say this. It is a super comfortable, chill place in the winter.
Oh yeah,
when it's cool out, we have a huge fire pit going, and and the bugs are gone, and it's cool, and the garage doors are open, and it's
nice. And there's not a ton of people. If you don't want the big crowd,
we're not afraid of the cold, so we'll.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds like the optimum time for me. Everyone's different, but this is the optimum time for me for sure. We come all the time anyway, but we'll be there more in the colder times.
Yeah, and the thing is, in the summer we're one of our struggles is we're packed. In the summer. In the winter we're not packed, and it is without a doubt a lovely part of the year.
Oh yeah, you guys also do like all kinds of crazy stuff, like the snow and the.
Well, we quit doing the snow. Now we got like a 40-foot Christmas tree.
Oh my God, that's awesome!
And Halloween decorations and Halloween. Halloween's coming up.
Oh yeah, Halloween party coming up. So one of the things that Angie and I talk about a lot with guests and friends on the show is during COVID, we've seen like a reoccurring theme that. Obviously COVID's been horrible, especially that first wave that kind of knocked us all sideways. But we've seen so many businesses born from COVID that, where people lost their job or they, their business went out of, went under or whatever. And they were like, oh, what am I going to do? They started another business. And it turns out that the business that they started that's now very successful.
Their
for
side gig.
Yeah,
became
Or it was
something.
their passion.
But it was their passion. That was the thing. It's the thing they really wanted to do anyway. So many people that were at day in, day out jobs. And then people had hobbies that were born from COVID because they're pinned up together. And I guess there was an interesting thing that I read on your site about your book. And that's that, there were hobbies born, there's businesses born. But this book that you wrote that we really want to talk about is really almost like a movement that was born from COVID.
Oh man, you actually read that, so I'm like, what? This is a perfect intro.
I told you we do some research.
I said this was a perfect intro. He brought COVID into this damn thing. This is the birth of the book.
But I love that it was called a movement born from COVID because the more we talk about the book that you've put together. And the more people that were involved in the art that's in the book, let's break down exactly how it ties to COVID, because I think this is incredibly interesting.
Okay, so Dan, you understand I'm an engineer.
Yes.
Okay, so,
which is why when you talk about how much you love art, I love it.
Okay, so
because it sometimes seems like opposite sides of the fence there.
Well, I don't know. I think engineers are like multiple dimensional thinkers.
I do too, but you're usually very sciencey.
And art people are multiple dimensional thinkers.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, so for me, it's just hand in hand, right? It is now. Not every person's the same, but for me, it's just been my life. So now what happened in the middle of COVID, you started to mention things were shut down. Stuff was bad. We had our engineering group. We lost a lot of projects and we were struggling. And the person I am I'm like, okay, I had clients calling me, what can we do? What should we do? And, we decided to do a lot of research and we started to write white papers on how to build buildings that were COVID resistant, were like that were healthy buildings and awesome stuff. And so that got me really deep into worrying about how do we beat this terrible pandemic.
Yeah, because you start realizing, and especially that phase of it, that this is changing the world. This is not something we're just going to come out of.
Oh, yeah. And so now, remember, one of my passions is art. One of Wekiva Island's pillars is art. And so now I'm doing this research as an engineer about pandemics. I'm researching pandemics because I'm trying to figure out how to design systems for buildings to beat them. And I realized...
I didn't even think about that part of it being your job where you have to figure out, how can people still work? And
this is where it comes from.
Okay.
And so now what happens is I'm looking at pandemics and looking at past history, and I realize the arts take a second seat to everybody worrying about dying.
Of course.
So what happens, you see this incredible flourishing art stuff going on in the history of the world. And when a pandemic kind of starts to flourish and starts to become a big deal, the arts kind of
like any natural disaster or whatever. Yeah. Or
people quit worrying about arts, right?
Yeah. Because you know what I think it is? I think it's a lot of people consider art sort of a nicety. And I don't personally, but some people don't think of it as a necessity.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a necessity. But I'm guessing that's maybe where you're going is that.
No, it's deep.
Yeah.
So now what happens, my daughter, Ashley Rose Weinaug, who is actually the co-author of the book. And when you look at the cover of the book, you see she's the co-author of the book. So Ashley Rose, she does marketing and business development stuff. That's her job. She lives in Barcelona. Now, I say Barcelona because that is actually the proper way to say it.
We've talked about this.
Yeah, and now my wife gets upset at me because she says it's Barcelona.
Oh, wait a minute. This
you don't
exact
remember this conversation?
Was in
I
the
remember
last
this
episode.
Conversation.
What, with us or somebody else?
With you guys. When you said you were talking about Barcelona.
Yeah, okay.
You were being silly.
So anyway, I was being silly.
Silly little thing.
But that's the way they say it over there. So anyway, my daughter helps me, kind of steers me sometimes. Maybe many times. And this whole COVID thing happens, and I got this stuff going on in my engineering brain at work, right? That I just explained to you.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I am shutting down because I know this is a real deal.
Yeah.
Now, like the guy that runs my food stuff out there, he's like, Bill, don't worry, it's going to be over within a couple of weeks. I'm like, dude, this is real.
Oh, it's so funny you say that because some people, I think, have sort of a sense of when things are. And Angie, who never gets panicked or free, I like between the two of us, you can surely guess that I'm the one where the house is on fire in my brain, once a month, and she's like everything's fine. And she said maybe a week into it, this is bad. I have a feeling this is going to be really bad.
So that's where I was, and so there were some people who are like, yeah, and I'm like, okay.
And I'm a very optimistic person.
Yeah.
So for me to say that, it's
so are you.
I think the same. Yeah. I think I agree with you. But I'm like, okay, here's the deal. He's got a bunch of food. He's got this, he's got that. And I'm like, you don't understand. I am hunkering down. I am shutting everything down. So if you have food in your freezer, I'm turning the power off because I don't know how long this is going to last. And I have to make it through this thing.
Yeah.
And it might be a long deal.
Yeah.
And I said, so I'm shutting the power off. I'm letting everybody go. I am locking the gate to the property. Everything is shut down. And that's where I was going. Yeah. I am shutting everything down. Because if this goes on and on and on and on for years,
it's unprecedented.
I want
you
to
survive.
I want to survive. I don't want to lose my awesome Wekiva Island.
Yeah.
And so now I'm telling my daughter who lives in Barcelona, they're on super lockdown. They got hit bad over there.
Yeah.
The airport shut down. They're not even allowed out in the streets. And I'm saying, okay, Ashley, I'm shutting things down. And she goes, Dad, you cannot do that. I'm like, no, I am shutting down.
You were kind of taking the lead of what other countries were doing, though. So you were listening to that intuition, is what it sounds like.
I'm shutting down, and she says, Dad, you have to, as Wekiva Island, stay relevant through this event. And
here's where the art comes in.
I said to her, relevancy sounds like it's going to cost me money, and I am not going to do that. That's the exact thing I said to her.
But I love where this is going.
I am not going to spend money. And she goes, Dad, we have to be relevant. I said, okay, you tell me what that means, and then we'll talk about it. You come up with a plan, and you tell me what it is. And she went away.
Her little marketing brain.
She came back with a little marketing brain, and she came back and she said, okay, here's the deal, Dad. And another conversation down the road. She says, okay, here's what we got. 3 programs we're going to do. One is going to be a new music program. All the musicians are shut down. They can't play in the bars. All the bars are shut down. They can't make money. We're going to start a program for the musicians so that they can still make money.
Well, hold on. It sounds like she's already talked you into staying open at this point.
No.
Okay.
I'm closed.
Not open. They're just keeping the name.
Yeah, well, you had to. Yeah.
We're keeping the name Wekiva Island still relevant by
relevancy.
Providing this stuff.
I got it. Okay.
She says we're going to start this thing called the Sounds of Wekiva. The artists are going to get together in their backyards. We're going to set it up so we can stream the music and people can join in.
We've watched Atlantic Alibi doing this.
Oh my God, we have.
So
I didn't realize how this was born, though.
That's how that's where the Sounds of Wekiva came from. This is one of Ashley's, like, being relevant. And then we started tip buckets for the artists so that people could join in on music. And they could do a tip to the musicians. The musicians were doing it. It was good.
You could live stream it. You could tip online.
Yep,
I remember
so
that.
we set all that up for the artist, for the musicians.
Music artists, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I said, my daughter loves music. She used to work for RCA Records in New York City. She worked for Red Bull. She was moving into Red Bull Records, and she just loves music. So I'm like, okay, Tag, that's you. You handle that, Dale. And then she said another run of the programs was an educational program in which we did a lot of education, and I did that through EXP. About how to fight COVID and how to actually build buildings that could actually be immune We design immune systems for
With like
buildings.
airflow and things like that.
Okay, dude, that's another program. It's
yeah.
that's a 5-hour.
Tell us
program.
in great detail how those buildings work.
No.
That's a 5-hour program. And then she says, "Oh yeah," and then there's this thing called it's called the paint in. Now you got to remember the art programs we called were paint outs.
Yes.
Yep.
I was wondering.
She says, "No, it's going to be called the paint in." I'm like, "Well, what in the hell is a paint in, honey?" She goes, "Well, nobody can paint out because paint outs are painting outdoors."
Mm-hmm.
She says, "Everybody has to paint in, so it's the paint in." So like I trademarked the word zero, we actually trademarked the word paint in. Wow. So I own the word paint in.
That's hot.
That's pretty cool. And I said, okay. She says, everybody's got to paint indoors, and that's what the paint in's all about.
I like it, though. It reminds me of like a sit-in or a whatever.
And so I said to her, okay, I really like art. Tag, that's me. I got this one. You got music. I got this one. My little sister, Joelle Laborde, we tagged her with the educational program and all that, which, by the way, you could Google, I don't even know how you Google it, but Joelle interviewed me many times about COVID and designing, the educational side of things. And it's on Google. Pretty cool interviews. It's with me doing the shit that we're doing here, though. So,
Gotcha. More in depth, though, on the engineering
really
side.
Deep, stupid stuff. I mean, this is what I do for my life.
Interviews about deep, stupid stuff.
Yep, you got it. So now, going full circle back to the paint in. Mm-hmm. So now I said, okay, I'll take this on. Now, I actually ended up hiring my daughter, Ashley, to be the director of the project. My sister Joelle actually helped us through she did all the editing for the book.
Wow.
I
love how you really keep it a true family affair, though.
It is
it's
a
your
family
business.
affair. My best friend, high school best friend by the name of Michael Wintermantle, who's a Copley master. So masters are usually, and Michael, forgive me if you listen to this.
Wait, what is he?
Copley Society up in Boston. Uh-huh. It's a big art society.
Oh, okay.
So Michael is a named Copley master. Most masters like Rembrandt, things like that, they're all like people you recognize as masters after they're gone. Uh-huh. Michael Wintermantle is a living master. He's an incredible artist. So Michael's a very, very, very near dear friend of mine. We have a lot of really great friends that are artists, of course.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask how you knew who to.
I reached out to Michael.
Oh, okay. So he's the one who told you who to. Yeah.
So Michael was my art editor. So in the book, so I'm like, Michael, you're the art editor. Joelle's she's the word editor. What do they call it? Copy editor or whatever. And this is kind of like an internal little project. We just so then the question is, what was the paint-in going to be? It wasn't a book yet.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I said was, okay, I think we might be able to collect art from the 50 states. And everybody's like, no, this is a world problem. You need to do this project's got to be about the world. And I'm like, okay, I don't have the wherewithal to take on the world, but I might be able to take on the United States of America.
You'd still be working on the book right now.
Yeah, of course.
And you got to understand, because of all the art connections we have, we're collectors, number one, but number two, we've run several art events for years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
We have so many incredible artist friends from around the country and actually the world that are just beautiful, beautiful people. Mm-hmm. And a little backstory too. When Ashley tabled this idea and we said it was going to be a book, I reached out to many of my artist friends. I called them up and said, hey, what's going on? What's going on in your life? And they're like, some of them were in tears saying, we don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Like our paint out was the last one they did. And then the next year, our paint out was the first one they did.
Yeah.
For a whole year.
Well, I think that goes back to philosophically a lot of society. I would imagine that the majority of society considers art a luxury, and that it's something you don't need during this.
And these artists, it's their livelihood.
And they need it.
And I
it's something
said,
they need.
But I feel like we all need it too. That's the beauty of this, because I think if we ditch the arts in times of disaster,
which we do.
Right. But that's, for people like me, I don't know how everyone feels, but without the arts,
Yeah,
we do,
I'm
but,
with you.
but I do think a beautiful thing did happen, though, with people staying at home during COVID, is I do feel like a lot of people did tap into those things that they hadn't.
So let me say this.
Yeah.
As COVID lingered on, things changed for the arts.
In the beginning, it was
At
panic.
the beginning, it was horrific.
Panic, shut down.
And everybody, nobody was doing it like I was doing. I was shutting down the Wekiva Island.
Yeah.
I was turning the electricity off, which, by the way, I did.
But part of that was, too, from the top to the bottom of society, everyone was sort of panicking like that, right?
Yeah.
So when
I don't know if it was panic. Like for me,
I think you were just being a smart business owner.
For me, there was no panic. For me,
I was doing it too, so I don't know. It didn't really feel like panic, but in retrospect, it seems a little bit like that.
It wasn't panic. It was, okay, I need to maintain. Yeah. I need to. I talk to my staff about this all the time. Yeah. I use the word hunker down.
And preparedness. Yeah.
Like a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which we do well. We do well for hurricanes. We just did it with Ian.
Yep.
Yeah.
But so anyway, moral of the story, I reached out to many of our great artists, the best friends on the planet that are incredible artists, and they were in this state of shock.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, it totally convinced me that the Paint In was a relevant project. Something that was more than just about collecting art. Mm-hmm. It was about helping our artist friend. We created a new marketplace, an online marketplace where they could sell their art.
Yeah.
And then it grew into this thing where I said, can you imagine this? If you look at past pandemics and how arts took a back seat, can you imagine 50 years from now, an art history teacher telling her class, okay, we want to talk about how we paint passion today. Okay, let me see. They go over to the library. They go like, oh, here's this book, The Great American Paint In. And they pull this book out and they open this book up, and it's all about this horrific place that the world went through.
Yeah.
That we just went through. And we documented that historical event in this book through the eyes of the artist.
So can I tell you,
Amazing.
I literally have a line in my notes that says, this book is a view of the story of the pandemic in America through the eyes of the artists.
Yep.
Because so for clarity, all of these pieces of art were done, like this isn't from the catalog that these artists had. They all made these during the pandemic, right?
Well, now, okay, so there's lots of stories.
Yeah.
And our vision for the book was incredible, the best artist in America. Every state, 50 states are represented. We collected over 350 pieces of art from 50 states.
Wow.
And the idea is the best artist in America, and it wasn't just the art. It was the story that came with the art.
I was going to ask, like, how? So you've collected that much art from these people that are on board with this, and they're excited about it. How did you choose? Like, how did you pick which pieces? Because you want to put everyone in the book, right? You wanted it to be a 350-page book.
No, we didn't know what it was going to be. The first thing was collecting the art. And so our whole collection process was the worm process, word of mouth. We fired it out. Michael Wintermantle, an incredible artist, started the word of mouth campaign, and we had artists talk to artists, talk to artists, talk to artists. And it was kind of like a very low key thing about, hey, there's this project going on in the art community, and it spread like wildfire across America. And that was pretty cool. Now there's, after many, many months of collecting incredible arts and incredible stories, we had some gaps. And then we had to fill the gaps, the gaps. Then we, I said, okay, we we got a gap here. We need to advertise. So then we'd advertise in art magazines, and we did radio ads. We did lots of art interviews. There was a pretty big program. We spent a considerable amount of money trying to fill the gaps. There were some places that were just easy. The state of Florida, the state of New York. We had hundreds of folks that just jumped on board really quick.
Yeah.
And
Wow. So what was the process of that? Like,
Is that the juried exhibition thing?
okay, so what happened is we collected a lot of art. We collected a lot of stories. And then what I did, I'm sorry, I'm an engineer. So I put together some math.
a spreadsheet?
It was maybe kind of like a spreadsheet.
I wonder what
No.
those are.
He's like a spreadsheet.
we never have those in our house.
Yeah, so we put
Looking
together
at me.
we put together some math about who bubbled to the top, and obviously there were some folks that had rights.
Yeah.
Number one, Joelle Laborde, who was our copy editor. If she said this was the most incredible story ever, and she voted it a number one, it got in the
It had
book.
to make it, yeah.
Okay.
And then Michael Wintermantle, who is an incredible, American artist today, if he voted it a number one, it got in the book. There's no questions asked.
Yeah, those are your
did.
experts.
You said something important, though. I think the story side. The story side had as much to do with it as the art itself, right?
Yep.
I wonder if there's any that stood out to you. Is there a specific art linked with the story that really spoke to
I'm
you?
getting tears right now. There are some, and there's a dedication page in the front of the book that talks about several artists that actually did art and passed away from COVID.
Oh,
And
wow.
some of the art was actually families heard about this project, and they reached out to us and said, there's one called Shut the Front Door, and it's kind of like this COVID thing coming through the front door, and the whole story is about, shut the door. Don't let that crap in, And this is an artist that passed away from COVID, and incredible, moving story.
So did this story
Yeah.
come from the families? Is
Yes,
that what you're saying? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
because that artist had passed away, but it was
wow.
it was a COVID piece of artwork. It was actually a COVID frigging thing coming through the door, right?
Interesting.
Oh, literally.
Almost
in the painting. Wow.
You'll see it in the book. You'll see it in the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
But and then some of the art is, oh my God, it's just like
Yeah, I was looking through
You
some
got
of
this
it, and it's
story
amazing.
side, which some of the like one of the stories is it's a John Lennon story. Okay, an artist said, I was sitting in my studio and this COVID thing happened, and I'm looking around the studio and I have no clue what's going on. You could read the story; it's in the book. God, is that the thing they say when you do a book? That's
Just read the book. No.
Yeah, just read the book. So, and this isn't a book you just read. This is movement. This is something. This is something that you can get emotional about.
Sure.
When you go through it. But
Isn't that funny though? How a piece of art or music, just the emotions that it evokes sometimes, and it's different for everybody. Because a piece of art you might look at might move you a certain way. Is where I'm looking at a couple lines and a couple dots on a page, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the
touching
thing.
me, it's just so
But
interesting.
I
This
think-
is where this art book is different because you got to read these stories. And I got to say this real quick. The little John Lennon one. This artist sits down in his studio, and this is a standard deal for artists when they're studio artists. They got art they started 10 years ago, and it's just scattered all around their studio.
Sounds like writers.
Yeah, they got these incredible creative brains, and they start something or other, and they lose the movement, and they throw it in the corner. And there's a pencil piece of a gal in the book, and he talks about how this happened, and he pulled this up, and he said, I was looking through this stuff that I had scattered in my gallery, and I started thinking about like the John Lennon song, about the candle and the light. And so he said, he grabbed this piece and he painted in a candle, this girl looking in the light about hope,
I saw that one. Yeah.
So it was already started, but it
was sat in his gallery for 2-3 years.
Wow.
And it was like there 2 years, and then he
But
grabbed
something
it.
else inspired
and
him.
then COVID inspired him to add this thing and turn it into this story about hope.
So this is where I'll get all metaphysical and say maybe it was always waiting for that.
Might be. So anyway, that's so you asked, how did these guys get in the book? We collected a lot of art, and obviously we couldn't put it all in the book. So we had a couple of ways that they just got in, number ones. And then there was a panel, which, included me and some other friends and, that are art people.
Yeah.
And we all voted. And then and then what we did is we segregated the book into sections. There's seascapes, there's birds. We had the Audubon folks wrote a front end for the bird section, and we
Categorizing, yeah.
We had different categories, and then we had all the states we had to cover. So we had to cover the states. We had to cover diversity, which actually, the true story is covering diversity was a struggle.
Really? And I
us.
would think in the art community that would be easy.
It wasn't, because I don't know. I think our channels, channels where we collected art were certain channels.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we didn't have a lot of Spanish work. We didn't have a lot of Black American work. And I'm like, we can't do an art history book about COVID and leave a gap.
Yeah.
And so we spent a considerable amount of effort and money to try to fill in our gaps.
To make sure, you've got the perspective culturally of all of America.
Yeah, because we were trying to express what was happening in America. And I had a big hole. The hole wasn't because there was an incredible art community.
It was finding them.
It was because our channels were just focused with maybe whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever, however. We didn't get into those other channels. So we had to figure out a way to get into those channels. And I'm like, okay, we're done with the book. I'm like, we're not done with the book. We have to keep collecting work. And they're like, no, we can't. We're done. COVID's going to be over with. I'm like, don't worry about
Doesn't
COVID.
matter. Yeah.
Don't worry about COVID being over with.
Yeah.
This is, we're actually putting together an art history book. We cannot have a big gap.
Because you're trying to rush. Yeah.
We're not going to have a big gap in the book.
Yeah, you need to represent all of, the different viewpoints
we did.
from an
and
artist.
I tell you what, we have collected some incredible work from all those gaps.
You know what I love too is how you said you guys put on this, you put basically an online gallery, right?
Yep, we did.
So many of those pieces of art have sold on that gallery. So you are keeping these artists working. You're keeping them, kind of like not in that funk that they maybe were in the beginning, and, keep creating through the whole pandemic. And it kept you busy during the pandemic.
Well, I didn't need to be busy, but
Well,
I made myself busy. But
it kept art kind of alive,
it did.
and kept you guys doing the paint out, but in a different way.
I got to tell you, full circle. I tell you, our friends who we stay in touch with, our artist friends who we stay in touch with, it was horrific at the beginning, but for I would say most of them, what happened is the world just came around, and the world, they don't give up on art. There's people that you said this. It doesn't end. It's really so important. It is so important.
Yeah.
It dipped for a very, very short time when this whole project was envisioned and fired up.
Yeah.
And it dipped. And also, I think what happened during 2020 is a lot of people started realizing that creative side, that they, started becoming more involved in art. And I think what it has done too is it's made people realize that is an important thing.
I was going to say.
And now they're focusing on that more.
I totally agree. I think from my perspective, what's happened is we started with just trying to survive when this whole thing got crazy.
Yeah.
And then I think we all realized that
we need to live.
We slowed down and focus on what's really important to us. Is it just being alive, or is it focusing on the things that are, because I feel like without art, the value of life is diminished.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
So, art is such an important part of my life.
And artists
so
are going to paint anyway, by the way. I feel like artists were going to keep creating through it, even if they couldn't sell it, because that's their way of expressing life.
But this was an amazing way to, for them to get exposure.
No doubt.
During this whole thing, including the music, the art, everything that you guys did for the things that you really love. I mean, and you just kind of kept it alive, and you kept relevant.
But let me piggyback on that for a second, because when you talk about that, didn't this become part of like a traveling exhibition for a while?
Oh, we did. Yeah, we started traveling shows. There's an art gallery in New York. We actually we put together we bought a framed flat screen TV. We bought a couple of those, and we made easels, and we made these little art exhibits, and we put them in art galleries. And
cool.
And it was kind of like people would walk by the street and they'd look in this art gallery and they'd see this thing, and it was kind of cool. So yeah, we and the idea was we were going to have a whole bunch of traveling exhibits. We're going to put them around America.
But you didn't know. I just wonder, was it always going to be a book? And
yeah. It started out. When we first started out, didn't know what it was. When Ashley talked about it being the Paint Inn,
yeah,
and then we moved it to the Great American Paint Inn.
Yeah,
real quick, it became an art history project.
Yeah,
real quick,
yeah.
And yeah.
Did you know it was going to be like a sort of a traveling exhibition, or
no?
That came after the book idea.
Yeah, so the traveling exhibition was just about, we started collecting some really cool art.
You started seeing the scope of this thing, yeah.
And then we said, let's just get this story out there. Now, that didn't really blow up as big as I wanted it to. I was thinking there'd be like 5-6 of these going all over America.
I bet if the book came out first, it would have, though.
Yeah, but getting a book published was another story. Now, you're a published man.
Yes. I am a self-published
man. He's
man.
self-published as well.
Okay. So you're a published man. So but now what happened was this is another whole
scope of it.
Another phase of the project.
Yeah.
Now my sister Joelle Laborde, who's our copy editor, she took it on the road to try to sell it to publishers.
Yes.
So now we're trying to get a publisher to say, yeah, we want to do this book. And all the publishers, every publisher she talked to said, my God, what an incredible project. This is probably one of the best projects we have ever seen. But no, thank you.
Yes. It sounds like pitching a script. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And
I'm sure somebody will want it. Yeah.
We pitched and we pitched and we pitched and we pitched. Now, you got to understand, we pitched art. We didn't want to pitch it to any publisher.
Yeah.
You
were being particular.
Our particular was we wanted to be an art book publisher.
Yeah, of course.
We wanted it to be high quality graphics. We wanted it because it's an art history book.
You also wanted to be advertised in the right circles too, right?
And we wanted it to be, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So everybody was telling me we had to self-publish.
Yeah.
You just got to self-publish. That's the only way you're going to get this. I don't want to self-publish. Okay, I want to, selfishly, I wanted to put a period after this part of my life.
Of course.
And let it go. If I'm self-publishing, I'm not letting it go. It's going to linger on.
I mean, Simon & Schuster won't stop calling me, so you never know.
Yeah. Well, and I just needed to it was an expensive part of my life. And it was an expensive part of my life in the middle of COVID.
But was it worth it?
When my bar was shut down and I wasn't making any money.
Yeah.
And now, sure, I'm still doing engineering stuff, but my God, I'm on the edge of the engineering company struggling,
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay.
Feels like it's unraveling maybe.
I need to get this behind me.
Right.
I probably spent on this project well over $250,000.
Wow.
Swear.
So please buy the book.
No, it's okay. It's an art history book.
Of course.
It's my gift to the world.
Yeah.
Swear to God.
But and I believe
That's
you.
what I'm saying.
I believe you
it was.
sincerely.
It was. I don't think you went into this project, Bill.
No.
Thinking I want to make a lot of
No.
money from this. That's not what it was.
No.
It was a passion project.
You
It
can
was
totally tell that.
something-
You totally-
Yes.
It was something to help you support
Yes.
your local artist community that you love so
Well,
much.
and local.
And
Yeah.
It's
Not
a big,
even
it's a
national.
big deal.
National.
It's
Yeah.
a big deal.
But I agree with what Angie said, and it comes through. You can
Bill,
tell.
you're
when
such a big deal.
Yeah, you can tell just the way you talk about it that it's so important to you. But I want to hear the rest of how you went through the publishing, because you shopped it everywhere and it wasn't going. And then, so what did you do?
So we had one publisher in London who actually was the publisher we selected to publish the book. I had the
Fancy. It's in London.
London. And
Fancy.
they do art history books, and they actually market art history books. They put art books in art galleries. This is what they do. It's a big deal. It's a big deal for them. I said that several times.
You said
tonight.
you're a big deal.
No,
but
I never
this is
said I was a big deal.
You did.
I always
have it on
said
tape.
I said
have it on tape.
You read back. You go
Roll
back.
it, hold on, let me yell the engineer. Roll that back.
Roll that back. Roll that back.
Okay.
It will say it is a big deal. I never said I was a big deal. But let me say this. So I actually, we actually engaged the publisher, and I paid for them to publish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
is
that
usually-
was part of my $250,000-ish that I put into this project. And
So you
know,
basically self-funded the publishing. And
I did.
But I feel like it's going to be worth it.
I do too.
Well, again, I'm not going to make money off it.
No,
And
it's going to be worth it in the long run because, like you said, it's an art history book.
It is.
So in the future,
is.
20, 30, 50 years from
Yep.
now, this will be one of the books that artists, that,
Yep.
college classes teach and say, look at this amazing
hope.
book that was made
I hope.
during this pandemic from an
hope.
art lover.
Yep.
I
hope.
It
Yeah.
will be. It
Yeah.
will be definitely.
So I hope, and that's what drove us. And here's the weird thing is because we were not fretting, but we understood if we handed it off to a publisher, it would be different.
Yeah.
We picked a cover artist. We said how the art was going to be arranged in the book. We had chapters in the book. We had, like I said, we had the Audubon write the front end of the chapter about the birds. And we had, and I tell you what, I reached out to my sister, Joelle, reached out to Felci because I wanted Felci to write the front end of the book, the forward of the book. And he said, no, I can't do that. And I'm like, yeah, you could do that. Just do it. And so, in my mind, it was a really big deal. Excuse me.
It's a big deal.
And it is. And what happened was the way we had organized it and all that, because we paid to have it published. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking we were going to hand all this incredible content over to a publisher, and they were going to morph it into something better.
What? But this is something to consider, though. And I say this from the perspective of an author. There's so many stories that I have read of such major explosive successes that got turned down by everyone. So the passion that you have for this project is reminiscent of some of those stories that you hear where they just knew it's a big thing. This isn't about you. This is about the art. It's about the story behind the art. And it's a big thing, even if big companies have trouble investing in it, because that's what they do, all the math.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're going to see success from this.
And so success from this, okay, people measure success
and money, sure.
a different way. I'm saying people
do though. I mean, generally people do.
So I am
I
never.
know that's not what you're saying.
Yeah. So success to me has nothing to do with making money. Now I'll make like your book. You get a royalty out of your book. And
Making millions.
You're making millions. I'm sitting in this incredible studio. I can tell
telling you.
somebody's making money.
So
we literally have
Studio.
15 minutes left because my pilot has texted us like 3 times. So we got to get to the airport.
Yeah, we're flying to
Are you going somewhere tonight?
Italy. Yeah, we're going to Italy.
No, get out of here.
Right, we are.
Oh my God. Okay, let's button this up. Okay, real quick.
We'll take you with us.
So
It's okay.
let me just plug the book signing. So you're not going to be at the book signing. You're going to be in Italy.
So no, we'll be back by then because, and I just want to say for our listeners,
we have a jet, a private
So this
one.
comes out on
Are
this
you really going to Italy?
this in about 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
But this episode comes out on the Monday, the 24th, when you guys will be listening to this. The book launch party is in 2 days. It's on the 26th, right?
No,
it's
on
November.
11/1.
Oh no, the actual release of the book is on the 26th.
Yeah.
Yes, the release of
Yeah.
the book. But we are at Gallery Zero. Did I say that right?
You did.
Zero.
Yeah.
On November 1st, they're actually doing the book, the launch, like
So
the
you can
launch party.
get the book before the launch party.
Oh, you can. But the cool thing is we have some artists coming in. The cover artist is going to be there. Michael Wintermantle is going to be there. My copy editor, Joel Laborde, is going to be there. We're actually flying in my co-author, Ashley Weinaug from Barcelona. She's going to be there.
Dan and Angie
So,
will be there
if Dan and Angie
after
are
we
there,
get back from Italy.
that would be cool as crap. But on the 1st, we are going to have a little get together, and we have a lot of books that, obviously I bought a bunch of books. We're going to sell them in our art gallery. We're going to be in the art gallery, but they're also going to be in the Tudiater General Store at Wekiva Island.
But they're going to be signing as well, right?
Oh, so we have artists signing books.
Love it.
Ashley Rose and myself will be signing the books as the author. My sister Joelle as the copy editor is going to be there. So this is going to be, and so we're going to have fun, and we're going to have books, and the book is pretty beautiful.
Well, so that's all the more reason to wait
It
to
is
buy
beautiful,
it.
yes.
And you could buy it on the 26th, but it's all the more reason to wait until the 1st because you can buy it at the event, get it signed by the authors, enjoy the event, enjoy Wekiva Island. How much is it to come to the event?
I think it's free.
It is free. That was a setup for you to knock out of the park.
Yes.
Well, it is free, but I do believe that you would like an RSVP.
Thank you.
You can find that on Facebook. You can go to Wekiva Island and find that on the events page.
So we actually have a Facebook event page for this event, and yes, thank you very much. Because
you'd like to get an idea of the amount of people
because
coming.
we want to have some. It's the end of this incredible project that I've invested dearly in, a lot of time, a lot of money. But the thing is, we absolutely want to know how many folks are going to be there because it's going to be good. We're going to have food. We're going to have drinks. It's just going to be an awesome little place.
And for those of you that are listening, and most of you are because it's audio only now, we'll put a link in the show notes that you can just click. That'll go straight to the RSVP, so you can tell Bill and Mary whether or not you're coming. We will definitely be there
and come. And let me say, what else can I say about it? It's just going to be.
It's November 1st from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Please give an RSVP so that they know that you are coming. We'd love to get an idea of how many people are going to be there, just to make sure you have preparations for the crowds of people that are going to be swarming in. But just amazing, a way to support your local community, a local author, Bill Weinaug, and Ashley Weinaug, who's coming from Barcelona.
Yeah.
and
said it right.
local artists from all over the country.
Yes,
That's right.
yes. So, and I'm excited about it, and and it's the end of this beautiful little project, but it is the beginning of this incredible legacy that we leave for all
Future
mankind
generations.
forever.
And I love that word that you said, legacy, because I think that's definitely what you're leaving, Bill.
That's what it is.
I love it. I think it's very
you so
important,
much.
and I'm glad you did this. And we're definitely going to come. We're definitely going to get a copy of the book, and
get all of our signatures in it.
Let me plug one other thing. So all you listeners
I'm sorry,
out there,
Bill, we're out of time. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay. So, but all you listeners out there, if you could let Fine and Dangy know that you do want to hear more from Bill and Mary Weinaug. I promise the next time we won't drink as much wine, and my wife will participate.
I can't promise
awesome.
that at all. But if you do want to hear, if you want to let us know, if you want to hear Bill and Mary again on the show, you can email us, as always, at contact@fineanddangy.com. That's DANJEE.com.
And that's going to be cool because this is the second time I did this with you guys.
Yes, you did.
And this is probably the funnest thing I do in my life. I've only had
Oh
2
my
years.
gosh, that makes us feel really good.
I want to do it again. I really want to do it again.
what's
We gotta
next
find a
time?
reason.
What's
we could
next
have
time?
we
We
could
will.
have a reoccurring theme with you guys. You have
Dude,
so much to
I'm
talk
in.
about, so much going on.
Well, we already said
We
next
wanna
time
talk about
Mary
the
will have to
river.
talk a little more. Because
Oh yeah.
We're going to bring out.
Let's talk about water next time. Hey, but let me ask you this: Is when you talk to all your other guests, is it as comfortable as it is talking to us?
I mean,
Oh darn it! You're going to say yes.
Just say no. Just tell them no.
Yeah, just say no.
No, I mean,
so
we
all
love-
the other
Can
guys,
I be
forgive
honest?
me.
We
Can I be
love you
honest?
guys, so
I
we're
am-
very comfortable
right.
with you.
If I'm honest, we're very comfortable with people. That's why we like doing this. But you guys are like family to
Yeah,
us. Really.
that's true.
So,
That's what sucks. We're like I've known you guys forever, my entire
well,
life.
you've known
Yes.
him forever. You haven't
Yeah.
known me
Yeah.
for that long.
I mean,
but I feel like I've known you for a long
I
time.
lumped you in with him.
for those of you that don't know, Bill and I work at the same day job at the engineering firm, and I've been there for almost 30 years now. That's a long time.
I've
for us
been there longer.
Well, I'm sure you
It's been a
have. You
long
started
time.
it.
Yeah.
But Bill, back to what you said, I feel like you are a people person. You love to talk to people.
Yes, indeed.
I'm the same way. Dan's the same. We love to talk to people. We just like to hear people's stories and what they're doing. And I feel like, we used to be very scripted, like in our questions for an interview. And it took kind of the realness out of it.
Now
Like,
we put a couple bullet items.
This is how I would talk to you if I met you and you just told me that you just started this book. Like, this is how I would talk
Yeah.
to you. So I want it to be like a real conversation we would have if I met you and I want to hear about your business or your art or your music or your nonprofit that you have. I really want to hear it and I want to be absorbed in it when we're talking.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And the neat thing is, this is going to have to be a recurring thing because you're moving your studio soon to the Wekiva Island Man Cave. So
Oh, I love that
very
idea.
good.
I love that
That's a
idea. And
really
hey,
good
even
idea.
when we move it to North Carolina, we can have you guys up there too.
Oh, dude, you
That'd
could
be
do
amazing.
it. You could come over to Tennessee and hang out in my
We
log
sure
cabin
can.
in
Absolutely.
Tennessee.
Absolutely
All
love it.
Hey, I love you guys. Love you tons, and I love your listeners too. So come on
you
out.
so much.
11/1 Wekiva Island book signing. Sign up. Sign
Yes.
up.
And we'll put all the
RSVP,
links.
baby.
We'll put all the
Good.
links in the show notes on the YouTube video and all. And also, as always, and thank you, Bill and Mary. We appreciate it very
Yeah,
much.
Mary,
We love
you
you
rocked
guys.
it tonight. You rock,
Yes.
baby. I love
Indeed.
you.
And as always, we want to thank our listeners like we always do. As you may have noticed, we've backed off on doing the YouTube video interviews, but we're going to be doing a lot of YouTube videos for local businesses in the businesses, little promos and commercials and things like that. And we also want to remind you that we do have a Patreon. So if you're interested in helping to support the show, and I'm looking at the camera again, that's
We have
not
no
even on.
camera anymore, but you can
I'm so
click.
used to it.
Yeah, but Dan has all of those links below, so
Yep.
you'll be able to find links to Wekiva Island, to the event coming up, like anything
As
that we
always.
talked about
As always.
in the podcast. You can just click the little link and it'll take you right there. And guys, remember at the end of each and every day,
It's all fine and dandy. We got to do that again. Ready?
Woohoo!
It's all.
wait, am I starting from the very beginning?
Wait, am I supposed to join in with you?
You
Yes,
are
you
supposed
can.
to.
Okay, here we go.
And guys, thank you so much for listening. And remember at the
Hey,
end
wait. I like how you point when you say "and guys."
And guys, thank you so much for listening. And remember, at the end of each and every day, it's all fine and dandy.
Bill's just got that voice. Can you
Fine and
say,
dandy.
Can you say
got
Smooth Corinthian?
Sing this for me real quick. I got that boom ba doom boom boom ba doom
I don't
boom
know that
bass.
song. I don't know that song. Hey, love you guys. Here, here.